I'm Kat Cottle, and this is Bruins on Q. Today I'm here with Wesley Rogers and Izzy Potter to start with the intros so that you guys kind of get to know each other. Wesley Rogers is a pop songwriter and artist that graduated from Belmont in 2018. He's since signed with Warner Records through Facet Records, and he's also released several EPs, has played lots of different places, including a courthouse, Bonnaroo, Lollapalooza, and The Late Late Show with James Cordon. And he just announced his debut album, which is super exciting. So congratulations, Jake, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Kat. Thanks for having me.
And then to introduce Izzy Potter. Izzy is one of my dear friends, and she's also a pop folk artist originally from Long Island, New York. She's done a lot with her time at Belmont, including being selected for and winning Pop Showcase this fall, playing venues all over Nashville, and promoting, writing, and releasing lots of her own music, including 2 singles last year. So congrats and welcome, Izzy.
Thanks, Kat. Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. I firstly feel like I need to address the elephant in the room because you've both had super exciting and cool stuff happen lately. Jake just announced an album. So, Jake, if you want to tell us about that, that's so exciting.
Sure. I mean, it's surreal kind of hearing that. It's surreal announcing it just because it was about a 3 year process that was so sort of, a lot of stuff was going on in my life on the outside and I was, touring and all that stuff that I dreamed of for so long, but making this album was kind of my little secret the whole time.
Yeah.
And now it's about to come out and I'm almost ready to let it go. But it was really hard for me to let it go. But I think I'm almost ready. I have
Yeah.
till May to figure out how I'm gonna let it go.
You got some time for sure, for sure. What do you
Yeah,
mean by
yeah,
like,
exactly.
how do you feel like it was hard for you to let it go? Like, what was that process like?
This thing, well, I mean, I've been releasing music since I was like 13, but this one has just felt so, I've never felt anything like it with the project. I think because the experience was so deep for me and the process was so healing for me and it meant so much in just my little personal life. I think that was that's kind of why it feels different. It feels way more vulnerable because I feel like I'm giving away something that feels so precious, which I know is silly because the point of it is to give it away. And I'm really, 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 really excited to, and I think I've come to terms to it with it, even though it probably doesn't sound like I've come to terms with it.
Absolutely.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, no. I mean, I've never produced and like put together an album, but I can imagine just like from also hearing Izzy talk about like making her music, and I know she has some plans to release stuff too. Like just the process of like deciding what songs are going to be on it. And you're both also performers, so deciding like the songs how they're going to be when you play them live. What
Mhm.
is that like for both of you? Like performing and like kind of like songwriting and performing, deciding like what you're going to put out and what you're going to release based on that.
Mm. Do you want to answer that first, Jake?
No, you go. I've been talking
Okay,
too much.
okay, all right. I'll yap. Um, I mean, yeah, actually, I've kind of been tackling this sort of issue with that, not even issue, as I prepare for like doing best of the best and then also doing just other shows in general, not just affiliated with Belmont, but just for myself. I write a song, and a lot of times I kind of have in my mind how I want the instrumental to be, but sometimes when I bring it to the band, it doesn't quite translate, or we come up with something different. And sometimes, a lot of times, if it's not a song I've released and we do it live, we do it a certain way for a while with a certain kind of energy and atmosphere to that performance. But if I take it to the studio, sometimes I end up changing things a little bit. So then the final product is like a bit different than when I debuted it just as a song I just wrote and the band hopped in on it and like kind of fiddled around. So sometimes things are subject to change and that changes the vibe a little bit. But I love, I picture how I want people to move when I
Mm,
Mhm.
am creating a song in the studio. Like how do I want people to react
mm.
physically to this? Is this a song where people, I don't know. Yeah, I see it a lot visually, how I want people to move and feel in their bodies when they're at a show of mine
Mm,
and listen to a song, if that makes sense.
mm.
Yeah, that's
I love that. Recording, I think people forget how different recording music is from performing it. It's
Mhm.
a completely different art form. Like hands down, couldn't, I mean, obviously they're similar, but um the art of recording a song, like, we've all gone to shows where people are just playing it exactly like you would hear it, and the tracks are the same and the background vocals are the same. And I often find those experiences to be very boring because I didn't go to listen to an album. I can do that on a walk with my AirPods any day. I went to, like Izzy said, I went to go move and to feel something um, and to have it be live. So yeah, I agree. They're completely different approaches.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Feel like there's like a balance between like because you both have like emotional like songwriting and like lyrics, but also like very danceable songs. What do you feel like that balance is like when writing and writing for performing as well?
I always say all my songs are sad. Some are just kind of fast.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm dead.
Yeah.
I like it it really depends. Like when I'm just writing a song, I'm not fully, I think, in the moment consciously aware of like how I'm going to translate that into a performance until after it kind of comes to its fruition and is done. But I mean, I know sometimes I sit down with the intention of like I want to write something that is like upbeat. I want to write something that I can have fun and move around to and hope that other people can as well. Like I feel like I've got a lot of songs that are incredibly, deep or meaningful to myself or others, but then I'm also like, okay, wait, I need a breather. Let's like just dance. Let's have like a song that like we enjoy listening to because it just feels good and not
Mm.
solely for the, or I also just love putting depressing lyrics over like a nice upbeat moment, kind of like what you said, Jake. I'm like, okay, this song's actually sad, but like let's put a little like upbeat tune over it and ain't nobody gotta know.
It's true. I had a songwriting class once at Belmont. I think it was Drew Ramsey, and
Yes,
we love Drew.
we love.
And I think he was referring to. I'm gonna misquote him so hard, but he was referring to some study that happened at some point where I guess on average people don't listen to the lyrics of the song until like they've heard it about 25 times. Has he said this to you guys?
I don't think so, but that's really interesting.
I have.
Yeah, like it. Yeah,
I've
you've
heard
heard
like
that?
I've heard that thing of like, well, because people are always harping on me at least of being like, when people listen to songs on the radio and stuff, they're never listening to the lyrics at first try. They're always listening to the melody and like the beat. So it's really important to be like mindful of that when you write, for sure.
Totally. Because I think that has way more to do with the actual feeling and kind of what Izzy was talking about of like wh- what 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 is it like on a deep level to hear this? Because it like the words, even though I love words, it makes me so sad because I like we spend so much time on the
Mm.
perfect words. But I think it's perfect when the words and the feeling are one, like
Yeah.
that's like dream come true. And that's hard to do though.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree with that. When I hear a song that I'm like, wow, that is just so catchy, or that is so heart-wrenchingly beautiful sonically, and then I like listen to the words and I'm like, and the lyrics slap. I'm like, wow, this is like a
Yeah,
10 out of 10. It's just, but
yeah,
it's all subjective as well. So it's like what's 10 out of 10 to me in that form might not look like that to someone else, but I'm like,
right.
wow, yeah, it's a hard thing to accomplish.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like we do spend so much time and we put so much heart and soul into our lyrics. So it can be really painful, like to like not feel like that received for what you know it to be. But yeah, I'm also wanted to ask Izzy because we did talk about Best of the Best very briefly, but how are you
Yeah.
feeling about Best of the Best and all that?
Super, super excited. And actually, like in a second, I have a question for Jake about that because that was obviously a thing, right? In 2018. Like that wasn't long.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm like, that's always been a Belmont thing, correct? It's my first
Back
time
in the 1800s.
back in the back in the early
Medieval
2018s.
days.
No, no, I'm like, was that
We
still
had
a thing? And then I'm like, wait, I'm literally like making myself sound like I'm aging you. That's not.
no, it's the best. No, it's like we had to load in a carriage.
We had the
My
horse
my
and
horse
buggy our
broke
way.
down.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
my horse broke down on the way to the pop
on the
showcase.
way to the pop. They had to carry you to sound check. Like it's the only way through. I
I
um
love it.
I'm super super excited. I feel like more confident now in the performance that I have planned for that than Pop Showcase, which was such an amazing experience, but it was my first time ever performing in a space that large. And using in-ear monitors and having tracks. I ran tracks with my performance, which I'd never done before, and I love it. But at first I was like,
Mhm.
there's click in my ear and so much noise, and I just was really like kind of distracted, and my in-ears didn't fit, so I have different ones now. But so I just feel like, yeah, I'm really excited, and I want it to be an even better performance than what I delivered before. But I had a question for Jake about that. So what they've been doing, and like they did it last year, and I don't quote me on nothing. I don't really know exactly what's happening this year, but last year they had some reps from Bonnaroo come, and like one of my friends, Molly Grace, who won Pop Showcase last year, she was selected to play at Bonnaroo, which is so cool. And there's been rumors about them maybe coming back, maybe a rep from Lala. I don't know, like 100%,
Mhm.
but like what they're trying to do is sort of, I guess, make it maybe a competition kind of, but I know that it used to just be kind of like a showcase of like everyone that
Mm.
won. What was your experience like doing best of after you went through that process of winning pop?
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot. I because we didn't have, I don't think, to my knowledge. I mean, obviously they always invited industry people.
Yeah.
Um, so I think I want to say I might have met. Well, actually, the agent I work with now at UTA, he was at WME and he saw me at Pop Showcase. So he
Okay.
didn't directly like. I didn't start working with them right after um Best of the Best of Pop Showcase. I can't remember which one. Um, but that's where he first saw me perform, which is really interesting. So, years later when we start working together, it's I think the moral of that story is you never know. Like
Yeah.
even if this show doesn't directly lead to you playing a Bonnaroo this summer, the whole point of it is you put yourself out there
Yeah.
and people see it and you don't know, oftentimes you don't even know who sees it. You don't know who feels it. Of course, that can be an industry person, but that can also be like some, prospective student that sees you and it changes their whole life. So I think that's kind of how I've always approached things. Like when you put yourself out there wholeheartedly and honestly, I do really always feel like there is some reward, but the reward isn't always when we want it or expect
Mhm.
it, if that makes sense. So that's
Yeah.
kind of the energy I like. Because I mean, that kind of like it's my whole experience at Belmont too. Like I signed a publishing deal my freshman year very unexpectedly because they were doing the showcase with, it was a different showcase, but it was like they picked 5 students to perform for Sony ATV. I don't think they're still doing that. Maybe they are. Um, but I was like, oh, I'll just apply for, I was like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, it's
And I
crazy.
think I like broke the rule. I think you were only supposed to like sing a song in a video, but I was like, I don't have time. Like I'm going to class, so I just like sent in I was in a synth band and in high school, and I like sent me playing a guitar, and I don't know. So I think that's my other like piece of advice. It's like it's always kind of fun to break the rules when you can, and that's what I liked about Pop Showcase too, is because the cover I did. Do you guys still do covers?
Mm-mm. No, it's
Oh,
only original
interesting.
music now. It
Original.
has to be
Oh, that's
strictly
cool,
original.
actually.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
Wait,
back
you
in the
do a
Stone Ages,
cover?
I
That's
think
kind of fun.
back in the Stone Ages, there was 2 original songs and a cover. But I didn't
Wow.
do a pop song. I did a Rolling Stone song. I
Okay.
did "Gimme Shelter," which is one of my favorite songs ever.
Oh, I
And I had a
love
background singer. Her name is Nikki Conley, and she's amazing. She's in Nashville. She's incredible, incredible artist and singer. And she did that like big the watch it, and it was just like it was
Yeah.
like one of my favorite experiences of my whole life. I'm going on a tangent right now. I don't even know if I answered your question.
No, you're good. It's just a show. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. It was
Wow.
so
Wait,
fun.
that's so cool. We didn't even know that. For the last few years, it's strictly all showcases are just three originals now.
Yeah.
No covers was like a specific thing on the applications that you're not allowed to do.
Wow.
Um,
Maybe it's because of me. Maybe they were like, no
they're
more
like, enough.
covers.
Like we hate
He
that
can't.
song.
He
No.
he can't do. He did a rock song in Pop Showcase. What's going on?
Well, especially now, everything is so blended genre-wise. So like we had the other people that also performed. Brooke Wheeler, she's a great artist and friend now. We met through the showcase. She was more like indie rock influenced, and Paco, love Pac. He was more like R&B and pop, and like I was more the pop but the folk. And it was like nobody was like, and Alex was very like R&B and like pop, but no
Mm,
one was very like just like I want to say like super commercially pop, like maybe like a Sabrina Carpenter or a Tate McRae, which love the Queens, but no one was giving like just one thing, which I like that everything is very blended nowadays.
Yeah.
So I
mhm.
wanted to ask you about that because also like now they're doing whoever one country gets to play CMA Fest. So my friend Aniston's playing
Wow.
that. So it's just like I'm like, okay, Belmont, like,
Yeah. They
damn,
really upped their game
Wow.
since the
stepping it up.
70s, I guess, you know.
Yeah, totally. Back in my day. I think I'm like I literally graduated like 6 years ago and I'm talking
I was gonna say, I'm like, I fear that wasn't long ago
That was
whatsoever.
pretty recent.
Like,
Yeah.
wait, guys, what year was 20? How long ago was 2018? Like, quick girl math. I'm like, like
oh,
counting.
I guess 7 years. 7 years, yeah. Wow.
Like we
Oh,
would have been in high school then. So that's to me that feels like a long time ago. So,
It was a long time ago. I mean that feels like years, light years, light years.
a lot happens
Um,
in 7 years,
yeah.
especially in this career industry. Things are constantly changing.
Yeah. And it's just
constantly
like
changing.
era of
Yeah,
our lives too, like 20s and like teens and all of that. I feel like you're just going through so
mm,
many emotions and things and it's like you're running around with like a chicken with your head cut off all the time. Like I feel like
totally.
so, another question I wanted to ask, because me and Izzy briefly talked about like developing the brand and like all of that stuff. And you have a very distinct kind of brand. You tie in a lot of spiritual themes and also love is a huge part of your brand. And you have a lot of really cool outfits, and the way that you just perform and present yourself on stage is so uniquely you. And me and Izzy were talking about that because I was like, Izzy, I feel like you have such a unique brand. Like, I really feel like you have such a, in that same vein. She was like, I don't feel like I do.
Mm.
So if you have any advice on that as well, or like just how you came to like create that brand for yourself and what inspired all of that for you as well.
Mm. Well, I think Izzy's answer is great because I think when you're doing it right, it doesn't feel like a brand.
Hmm.
You
Mm,
know, when you are being authentic to who you are, I think that's what the brand is. It's bringing out all the kind of little strange parts of yourself. Like, yeah, I grew up in Missouri and I'm like gay, but I also like love like religious imagery and I love big costumes because I grew up doing theater and theater is really important to me. And in my head, all these things kind of fit together. Maybe from the outside, it's like, oh, that's, that's strange. But in me, it's like that's me. So I think when I think of, I don't ever really think about it as brand. I think about it as, what's on the inside that wants to come outside,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. Um,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, which I know is like not a great answer if someone's like, if you're an artist and you're like, what's my brand? Maybe the question is, who am
Hmm.
I?
So true.
Yeah.
Which is actually a much harder question to answer.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm taking a class right now with Jody Marr,
Yes.
Oh,
and
I love Jody.
me too. And she was like literally looking at all of us, and she's like, "You might get into a room one day with people who are gonna be like, 'Who are you? What's your brand?'" And she's like, "All that's just industry words and industry crap. Your brand is yourself embellished, so other people can feel it from the outside what you have within." And I was
That's
like,
it.
"Jody, you're so wise. It's almost like you've been here for a hot
No,
minute." She's like, "Girl, I've been
no,
here for
that's
a
it.
minute." But
Totally. I couldn't have said it better. I mean, it's it's complex. It's simple, but it's extremely complex because for anybody, not just artists, it's so hard to be yourself in this world. Um, and I think the greatest artists of all time are just the ones that were themselves no matter what. And of course, like, I think what Jody said, there is an embellished part of it. There is kind of a character, but the character only works when it comes from a true place.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I
Yes.
mean? Like
Yeah.
it can be Gaga, but Gaga's came from a very authentic place, and you can feel it. And you can feel it when it doesn't come from an authentic place. I always say our grandmas can tell if it's unauthentic. Like you don't need a music business degree to, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
people,
Absolutely.
everybody kind of knows if it's real or not, including you. So
Mm-hmm.
it's the
And
soul
might I
journey, really.
say, I literally love your show outfits because, like I was telling
Oh.
Kat, like I was okay. Well, I mentioned briefly yesterday, Kat, to a few of my bandmates that we were doing this today, but I know we were keeping on the DL in case everything got confirmed. But I told one of my guitarists and best friends, Sam, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm doing this like little Zoom interview with Jake, Wesley Rogers, and Kat," and he was like, "Oh my God!" And then all the guys were like, "Wait, Jake's the one with like the really awesome outfits, right? Like awesome stage, like that's how people like recognize you is really from." The way you present yourself on stage in such an authentic way and very colorful and very flashy.
Mm,
But it's like it makes people feel good and feel comfortable and like in a space. And that's kind of what I always want to emulate as well in my performances. So I really admire that. My style is like not as like
mm,
obviously it's a little different, but it's still it's a bit more like Stevie Nicks inspired in terms of like the 70s
mm,
fashion, but
mm,
like I always strive to be colorful and bold in my makeup or my choices in outfits or the words I choose to kind of try to get people
mm,
to feel comfortable. I'm like, if you want to dance, introduce yourself to the person next to you and make a friend and
mm.
so
Oh,
anyways, I admire that about like your performances because I've not seen one in the flesh, but I've had the pleasure of watching them online.
oh,
And to do
oh.
what you are doing, and touring and putting out an album and
Mm,
all that stuff is just that's like that's the goal, it's the end game for
Yeah.
people like myself. So it's really cool to watch somebody
mm,
come through Belmont or just come through the Nashville scene in a similar vein of kind of what I am navigating. And yeah,
hmm.
it's super admirable and it's really cool. So
Thank
I just
you.
had to like geek for a sec. Now I'm chill.
Oh, thank you so much, Izzy.
That was
That
Yeah.
means so
beautiful.
much, truly. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I was also
Mm,
gonna say, like, because I've never seen you play like your shows, but I did get the pleasure when I was a freshman, like 4 years ago now, of seeing you play at like the songwriter pizza party. I
Oh
don't know
my
if
God.
you remember
oh,
that, but you
of
played
course. It's
Pluto,
so special.
and
Yeah.
I was like so floored, and like the way like, and especially listening to a lot of your music now, through before doing this interview and all of that, there's just something so deeply emotional about, because it's almost like it's like soul and gospel in a way, but it's like your story and all of that, and it's the way that you put it together is so beautifully done. And I think like when I was a
Mm,
freshman and like retrospectively thinking back about Pluto, like that song like has become such a song that I just like love, and like the message of like
mm,
hate on me, but I'm still gonna do me, like is so incredibly
mm,
important, and also speaks to your story, I guess, as well, because you are all about authenticity and doing you, and I think that that is so powerful, and you also kind of have to be that way, in the pop world and in the music world. But yeah, I did also
mhm.
want to go on my spiel as well.
Oh, thank you. That's so special you were there. I was just thinking before this call, I was thinking about that event in particular. That was so special for me. Yeah, I love going back and seeing Drew and Jody and James and talking to
They're
all you
all
guys because
still
you guys
there.
they're there and you guys inspire me so much too, because I think as an artist, I mean, it takes so much. It takes, I think I was pretty, and this word might sound mean towards myself, but I think I was kind of delusional for a lot of it, but I think it was to my benefit, because part of me just believed that I guess I was gonna do everything that I'm doing now. Now that I'm in my old age,
Oh my God. 75.
but now, yeah, now I'm like, wow, like I was like, I guess I'm glad I had that attitude because it's different now. You know, my fuel is different now. But I think that's just it's funny, like when some of those dreams come true. Like, you know, it was my dream to tour, it was my dream to open for someone on a big tour and you know, play the late night things and all those and get signed and they happen and it's amazing. It's amazing. It really is.
Mhm.
And it's not everything. Like it, what all of it really, what it's done is made me go back to that spark in the beginning when I was maybe 11. Everybody's ages feel like it's a little different for this, but like, why did you start? You know, like where is that kid that like was listening to Gaga and musicals and all those things and what, you know, what is that like? Because that's the whole point. Everything else is just icing, you know.
Mhm.
Um, and 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 I think making this album is that for me. It was like, okay, a lot of my dreams have come true, but like what is really gonna fulfill me is going to that real true place. And that's something that nobody can take away from you either, which is really cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you've already won if you're doing it from that place.
Hmm.
Um, the things that happen after yeah, it's just like I call them accidents almost.
Yeah.
You know, like if you know if something big comes from Pop Showcase, that's an accident of you playing Pop Showcase and doing such a good job, you know what I mean? Like and that's kind of been a reframing in my brain in my mid to late 20s.
Oh, grandpa over here. No, I'm
I
kidding.
know. I've always worn grandpa sweaters. Yeah.
No, and I love it.
It's great.
I totally, yeah, I don't know if you have any more questions, Kat, so I'll keep
It's okay.
my yap brief. But I absolutely understand that with every fiber of my being, and I have been trying to be really mindful of remembering why I do this because um it is so amazing to accomplish those dreams and goals and see the fruits of your labor in a tangible form, whether that be like the streams or the big late show performance or the tour opening slot or the festival spot and the fans or whatever, all that stuff is absolutely incredible. And it's like a way to notice your milestones and reflect on them. And it's everything that I've ever wanted and will achieve. Manifesting.
Absolutely.
But
Yes.
and manifesting, but also sometimes I stop and I look around because, especially in Nashville, it feels like a bubble at times because 95% of my friends are all doing the same thing in some capacity and we all love and support each other and it's wonderful, but it's also like sometimes I have to stop and be like, why do I want this? Is this what like 10-year-old me wanted? Is like, am I still
Mm,
creating from a place of um what's, musically and lyrically and sonically
mm,
feels like myself versus trying to emulate, what is popular now among my peers and among other artists, and all that stuff that I feel like is pouring out of Nashville right now in like the pop folk and this indie rock scenes are so influential to me and I love it, but I always have to kind of keep my head down, not scroll too long, especially on like socials, because I don't want to subconsciously like be
Infiltrate.
trying to
mm,
be something I'm not because I know who I am and I know that I can't emulate s- that vibe, even though I think it's amazing. I'm like, oh, it's just not fully myself. And I have to remember
mm-hmm,
that
mm-hmm,
all of it will come in time when it's supposed to,
mm-hmm.
really, because everybody, I mean, I'm sure even when you were like back at school too, like you might watch your friends sign deals or drop out and go on tour and you're like, damn. But I'm also
Don't
I'm like,
mind me.
Yeah.
wow. I'm like like me? No, I'm kidding. But I'm like, no, but
Right.
I'm like, I'm so happy for them. Like I've watched so many of my friends have this incredible success and I'm like, I'll be there front row every time. It is so incredible to
Mm,
watch. And it's not met with envy now when it was when I was like 16, 17, 18. It's more like
mm-hmm.
joy and pride. But anyways, I'm going on just a tangent
Mm.
of
No.
whatever, but I have to be keeping that in mind as well. What am I doing it for? And just know that there's a divine timing to everything
There
that will
is.
happen.
There is. I believe that more than ever in my whole life. My album was supposed to come out like two times already, and then I had all this kind of crazy stuff in my life happen, and now, but now it's coming out when I'm ready, and also when I feel like maybe the world is ready for me to put it out. Especially because this album does feel like so much of a resistance to political influences right now, and I think art and music is has always been that has always been so instrumental in revolutions and so I bet to echo you, I believe in divine timing so much, and but that does take it does take a lot of surrendering, and it takes a lot of confusion and a lot of like, well, why did they get that and I didn't, even though
Yeah.
I'm deserving and I've worked just as hard, and um I've had so much of that. I've had so much of that, and that's when going back to the reason why matters even more, and and just doing it for that reason alone, because I've found that doing it for any other reason will make you feel like, I don't think I can swear in here, but it will make you feel very bad. Um, believe me, I know, believe me. Uh, and the only thing that really matters is your relationship with yourself, um, and whatever you believe in, and making it for that. There's
Mm,
this, I love monks and nuns. I know this is like, where is Jake going with this? But there's this nun, her name was Sister Wendy, and she was a hermit, so she lived like alone for like 40 years. But the BBC found her. She's amazing. The Sisters Wendy, sister. If you Google Sister Wendy, she's amazing. She's passed now, but she ended up getting really famous because she was so good at talking about art.
yeah.
And she's like they asked like, what is it like to be a famous nun, and she said, she kind of laughed and she's like, well, I always thought of myself like a forklift, like bringing people up to art, bringing people up to God. And she's like, I never thought that people would start to worship the forklift.
Oh,
she all
interesting.
she wanted all she wanted people to do was look at the art, but they were looking at her. And I think the same is true for music. Like, if all you want people to do is hear your expression and hear your music, and it's not about you really, it comes from you, but you're channeling it. And um so I think that's been important for me to realize, like, I'm just a forklift.
Just a
Yeah,
messenger, for
I like
sure.
that
Yeah, just a
analogy a
messenger.
lot.
Yeah. Yeah, Sister Wendy's great. I definitely recommend going on a deep dive.
I need to look this woman up. I've never heard of her.
That's so cool.
She's so cool. She's so cool.
If you were like to describe your, I guess we maybe talked about this a little, but your message, the message that you're trying to forklift up, what would you say it is, I guess, through your music and through this album, I guess, as well, however much you're able to share. But
Yeah. Um, for me, it was unconditional love, which is for me, that's a mic drop. Because I will never be able to explain unconditional love. All the songs I wrote in the last 2 years, 2 or 3 years, except for one song I wrote when I still lived in Nashville, um, called Mother Mary and Me, and that's probably still one of my favorite songs I've ever written. And I've released a lot of songs since then, but I've always like kept this one. I was like, this is for first album. This is saving this. I don't know why I'm saving this, but the song is about unconditional love, which I just finished rereading Harry Potter,
How
because my
fitting.
yeah, I was. in a pretty sad place in my life. Well, not that you have to be sad to read Harry Potter, but it was very I'm saying it was just very comforting.
Oops. Wait, what house are you? I
And
have to ask. What house?
I I think Gryffindor, but I think I'm one of those Gryffindor Slytherin like 50-50, which
Mm,
it kind of freaks people out. Um, but anyway, I was reading it and the part about Harry's mom, her love saving him.
mm.
Like I actually like really sat and thought about that, and I felt like the realest. Like obviously it's a fiction book, but like that felt like the realest thing in the world, and it felt like a love I had not yet experienced or understood. Like that kind of like, oh my, like this love is more powerful than death, and I think that's kind of my message in the whole album is like getting back to that place that I think is inside of me and is inside of all of us. So like there is a love that is so much more powerful than anything we could ever understand. And I don't understand it. But I've been working very hard to try to get back to that place. So that's kind of what the album is about. Yeah, I guess that's my message.
I'm so excited to listen to it.
It's gonna be so cool.
Thank you.
God. And
Thank
when I
you.
was like researching and all the things, this might be full circle for you, I don't know. But when I found this article and it was like 2019, you were talking about how like you just wanted to like be happily making music 5 years from now and maybe hopefully have an album out. And so you do. You
Wow, I
are
just got
gonna
chills.
you are gonna have
Wait,
an
that's
album.
crazy.
So
That's crazy. Actually, that's wild. Thank you for reminding me of that.
um
Wow.
so would you say that you're
Wow.
still happily making music, I guess? And
I think happily. Yeah. I think very happily I am. Thank you for reminding me of that.
absolutely.
I feel emotional right now, so thank you.
Oh. um
Oh,
well, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but Izzy, if you have any closing questions, this has been such a wonderful conversation. Also, I'm so glad we got to do this. But yeah, if you have any questions, Izzy, other than mine, feel free to fire away.
yeah. I mean, how long have you been in LA fully now, Jake?
I moved here officially at the beginning of 2022, so
3 years.
about 3 years. Yeah, 3 years. Yeah, I kind of put it off for a long time. Um, I never really liked it that much. It always felt when I first came to Nashville, I kind of felt this like I think a lot of us feel this kind of like community, like this warmth, and LA was a lot more like I feel like there were a lot more barriers. And the first like 5 times I went there, I was like, well, nobody cares if I live or die here. Um, but with time and being consistent, I have found a real deep beauty and love for LA. It's just she's kind of misunderstood, if you know what I mean.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
that's kind of how I feel, but I haven't spent enough time there. But I feel like Nashville is so home and cozy and very big emphasis on community. So I was just gonna ask, but you kind of answered my question of like, do you, I mean, actually, I guess I didn't fully ask it. Like, if you, I mean, not even if you had to choose, do you think that you will ever come back to Nashville in time eventually? Is there anywhere else you would want to live besides LA? This isn't like fully even like a music related thing. I like to ask people like, because I know that they're based
Yeah.
90% of the time in LA, Nashville, or New York, and I'm from New York
Hmm.
originally.
Mm.
Um, so I'm always like, would you want to live anywhere else if you could?
Yeah. I the only place I really want to live is New Orleans, which I know is very random.
Okay,
Oh,
cool.
But
Yeah.
I love New Orleans so much, so much. It's the only place I've ever wanted to like buy a house, which is kind of ironic because I don't think you can even get home insurance there because all the homes like are probably gonna it's probably gonna be one of the first cities to go in our climate crisis. Anyway, it's the only place I want to live. I just love it. I spend a lot of time there. I've made a lot of friends there, and it is such a what's beautiful about it is it's such a creative place, but there's no industry.
Mm.
yeah.
It's just like it's like the real deal artists that you may never hear about, but they are artists through and through. And I really, it's like an antidote. I feel like for living in a place with so much industry.
Yeah.
Mm,
It's like just creating to
How
create.
about
yeah.
you, Izzy? Do you
Creating
want
to
to live anywhere else?
I do. I I can't say I have the desire to live in LA, but perhaps that will also grow and change on me if I needed to be there. Because it looks beautiful, a lot of parts of it. I've only been like twice now, I don't really remember. But um, I have always wanted to spend time living in a different country, maybe living somewhere in the UK. I did like London a lot when I went a few years ago. But I think of like settling down fully. I mean, that's so far in the future. I don't even know. I mean, I love living here and but I also love New York and I miss the city. Sometimes I don't even know. I mean, right now I'm here
Mm,
and I'm sad and I hope that I'll have the opportunity to travel a lot through traveling and, touring eventually and be able to explore more of the country or the world that way and then see where I go from there.
yeah, that's the best way to go.
Yeah, I love travel.
Just follow the road as it unfolds.
That's the plan. It's the only thing we can do.
That's the plan. And I have one more question for you, Izzy. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you feel your intention is or your message you want to bring forth for I guess for Best of the Best showcase in particular, but you know, going going forth in your music, do you feel like you have something like that is on your heart and you're excited to share with people? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. It's just a fat question.
I
Um,
love that.
I love a big fat question. Yes, I feel like I'm still trying to put into words exactly like what I want my full message to be. And I love how you're very confident in your answer and your response to what your album means and is going to look like for you. I think in general, I want to create a space like between myself and others, whether that be physically at a show or just, online, um, that feels like people can really be comfortable being completely true to themselves, no matter what gender, or race, or sexual orientation, or whatever that looks like to anyone. We don't care out here. Pull up to the show, have fun. And it's just I want to create something that feels like that. And I also, in addition to just an accepting, safe feeling, I want hopefully to encourage people that it's like it's okay to feel a lot of really complex emotions and I don't know. I have a lot of songs coming up and it's a little hard to sort of fully I'm just rambling at this point. Come up with a full statement until I feel like I'm working on putting out like my first sort of body of work because I think as I create working towards that maybe sometime in 2026 in like the spring as I work towards that I think the message I'm trying to fully deliver will come forward a bit more. But
Mm,
it's going to be a labor of like love and I'm a very open book. All my friends that meet me or people that know me, they know I love to yap, I don't shush, probably overshare too much. And so if I can, make that connection with people where they feel like they can also confide in me or speak freely that way as well, like that, I like that's just like the best feeling
mm,
ever. And yeah, I have very, I think, poignant and oftentimes just blunt lyricism about just like things that happened or how I feel. And so I just encourage people to take up space and say how you feel and yap. Don't be
that's
afraid. Yeah.
beautiful.
That's a whole
That's
jumble
beautiful.
of yap.
Well, I feel like you know exactly what it is. It sounds
Let me
like it.
let me
As
like
you're
chat
talking, you
GBT
do.
that into like one sentence. And
She's like,
then
I was just
Yeah,
actually reading that
yeah,
off now, just now.
yeah.
I'm like, let me
You
like
definitely
produce that.
you have the answer. That's beautiful. Thank you for
Thank
sharing.
you.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Jake. This was so awesome. And thank you, Izzy, of course. I'm Kat Cottle.
I'm Jake Wesley Rogers.
And I'm Izzy Potter.
and this was Bruins on Q.